Wanted to make a little video regarding the reverse lights after a manual swap. So, right at my NSS, neutral safety switch, I suppose it's really more than that, but the harness for the neutral safety switch and all the gear selections for the transmission, that goes to the TCM all the way through. And this would be the old TCM, pull it straight from your factory auto, or get like a junk one to cut the harness up with, but I just opted to use my current one. So first thing I did was I got these wires right here, cut it, and then pull the loom off. Now you got all your wires exposed, and also cleaning up my battery. It's got really junked up. But next step is I'm going to be looking at the wire harness and figuring out which of these I need to splice to keep it running, or kind of like keep separated because they don't matter anymore. But for today's video, because I will be making one shortly regarding using the park neutral and drive, so you can get cruise control working, which on the last video I did post about, that my hunch was if you put the neutral safety switch in any forward gear, so right now it's in park neutral, but if you turn it all the way over like this, that should be 1, 2, the first, second gear selection. Cruise control still worked, and actually what I did notice was that the idle improved. It was a little higher, but it was less prone to stalling. Not that it has stalled, but less prone to stalling. And yeah, cruise control worked great. Cruise control will not work what's in park neutral. Factory service manual states it will not work. Also, don't even have a clutch switch wired up, and even when it was in cruise control, I could still touch the clutch and it would do a little blip of the RPMs and would cancel cruise control without a problem. So it will work, but at the moment you just leave it as park neutral. But if you want to have reverse lights work and stuff like that, I'd say just cut this off, get rid of it entirely, and then just spend a little bit of time splicing. So yeah, I'm going to get to work on figuring out which wires I need to run for reverse lights and which ones that I'll be splicing in the meantime to get my to take care of the neutral condition. But I will be working on a like some kind of switch for like for it to be in drive, because I noticed that it does behave better when the neutral safety switch was selected to be in some gear. Like I mentioned, it would just idle better. That was really primarily it. And what I'm worried about is that what'll happen is if I wire the switch, wire neutral to the clutch switch, I'm worried if I do that and then I'm going on the highway and I click neutral, and in neutral setting it's a little more prone to stalling, I've noticed. So what I'm worried is I press that and it might stall on me. So I'll see what happens. Right now I'm inclined to just put a little switch on there that will also behave as a like a kill switch, because you won't be able to start it unless it's in the park neutral setting. So if I can just splice whatever wires they are together to get it in the park neutral setting and flip the switch, it'll to get it in the park neutral setting, it'll let me start it, and I flip the switch off and it just thinks it's in drive all the time. And the code for the neutral safety switch condition will go away. It has gone away. I still have 2 codes left for the transmission, maybe 3 codes, I don't remember, but it's all solenoid related. So my hunch for that, aside from honestly just getting a manual ECU, my hunch for that is to take the other plug, this sucker. Now I should have taken one from the transmission. I'll probably go find a junk transmission, like at a pick and pull or something, and cut the harness off of it, like one they're about to throw away or something. Cut the harness off and see if I can wire resistors to the where the solenoids are. That way it might be able to trick it into thinking they're still working. But then my hunch is the TCM is going to see that, oh, it's shifting, but for some reason the RPMs aren't matching up with what it should expect. So that's up in the air. But anyways, I'm going to show you how to do the reverse lights. First, I'm going to find my diagram, and I will point out which cables they are and where they're coming from, and I will report back. Okay, so I did find out which ones they were. In fact, I even forgot this. I completely knew which ones they were. Regardless, for reverse, Not neutral, not park, nothing like that. For reverse. Notice how it's these two middle ones. The red one, here I'll even zoom in. This one, dead center, the red one, and the blue one right here. They're in the center row, 3 on the right, 2 on the left, 2 in the middle. I even have them separated. These 2 right here are the ones you're going to use for your reverse lights. I even tested this, took my transmission before I even did the manual swap. There was an auto transmission in here, and I just unplugged this from the transmission that was still in there, unplugged it, jumped 2 wires from there to the transmission that was sitting right next to me, put the transmission in reverse, and it worked. So I know this for a fact works. So I'm going to strip the wires down a little bit and get some connectors on there just to get it ready. I just opted for some cheap connectors. I could solder it, but I think I'd rather just have the connection be able to be detached. That way I don't have to cut my wiring if for whatever reason. I don't know. I just because. Yeah, so I'm gonna strip these down. Focus, please. Strip them down, and then I'm gonna go show a video from the underside of the transmission. I'll explain the differences between the AX15 and the NV3550, but the only difference I am aware of, not regards to plug, but the plug location, is the AX15 plug is located on the driver's side. If you could see it, be like right there, where the NV3550, it's on the opposite side. I think it's the driver's side, passenger side, driver's side. So that's the only difference I'm aware of. It should be the same for any Jeep. So yeah, strip them down, I'll report back. Okay, so just got the plugs on, very easy. So I actually got these from Amazon, or not Amazon, sorry, AutoZone. They're just Dorman brand for 16 to 20 gauge wire, female weather sealed, and I also have male weather sealed. And put them on, just tighten it back, and then what I didn't notice was the weather sealing part. So just use a torch or a heat gun or lighter or something, and it just seals right to it. Very tight connection. Very happy. I only spent like $2 for a pack of 10 for each, so $6 or $4 to $6, whatever it cost me. Yeah. So next step, I'm going to get under it. I'm going to start cutting the wires back on that, and then it's just running the wire to it. It is worth noting that because these are not covered, I did try to find covered ones, but they didn't have any, and I don't really have the patience at the moment. So because the reverse lights work just by having continuity, so if you're on the transmission side, which aluminum, very conductive, although it is painted, I shouldn't have a problem, but if it touched anything metal, both of them at the same time, it'd probably trigger your reverse lights. So I'm just going to cover these with a little bit of electrical tape just to protect them and add as a little extra layer of protection. But yeah, next video will be of me under the Jeep getting the reverse wiring from the transmission. Okay, so I ended up getting under there, and you know, I'll just show. Here, let's see. Everything is working as I'd expect, but I think I had an idea that might make life a little easier. So just trying to grab on that. So this is the reverse plug off of the transmission. Notice how there's pins on there. So stop focusing there. You'll notice how there's pins on it. And it's not one to focus because my hands are very full, but there are pins sticking out of the male pins. My hunch was, instead of just lopping this off, I wonder if I could just get the female connectors and just plug them right in. So I'm gonna give that a try. I want to get it back together, get the neutral wired up again, go to the parts store and see if I can get some connectors with the female. They're called female bullet terminal connectors, and I want to see if that does the trick. If not, I'll report back and just say lop it off, but hopefully it protects the connector. So yeah, so let's get back over here. Okay, so back to the plug. So this right here is the body side of the neutral safety switch, or really the transmission range harness. The transmission end plugs in. Notice a little tab on top. Here's how it looks from the front. See how it's kind of just standing out normal to there, where the bottom it's much wider. Well, we're looking at the top right here, it's much narrower. This is so you get your orientation right. So every article you look at regarding the pinouts for this is the orientation. Now, the factory service manual says that these two wires right here, these black ones, where it is clocked properly, notice we have it up, these two black ones on the very bottom, you jump these, and that's required. That's what completes the circuit for the starter solenoid. This is what makes the everything think that it's in park or neutral. These bottom two. Now, let me just hold on to these. Now, when I do the connectors on these, instead of doing what I did right here, where it's female on both sides, because for the time being, I intend to just splice these together until I have the time to get to the like some kind of clutch wiring. What I'm going to do in the meantime is male, female. That way these can just plug into each other, and then I'll just make sure to do it for the whatever switch I figure out over there. So yeah, that's the plan. This is what gets your park neutral working, and for drive, there's nothing. If you look on the factory thing, if you're in drive, there is no wires spliced, jumped, engaged, etc. Nothing. So what this means is basically you break continuity for the park neutral circuit, and it thinks it's in drive. And that means that cruise control should work just fine. Otherwise, worst case, you just jump whatever one of these are going to be, like 3 or 1, 2, definitely not reverse. But yeah, so I'm gonna go splice these, drop something, splice these, and get a male female plug on here, jump them back together, and go run to the parts store and see if I can get those female bullet connectors and bullet terminals, and see if that does the trick. It'll take a few extra minutes, but it might be worth it if I don't have to cut up a factory wire harness. That's the goal. Preserve everything factory, cut everything in between. Yeah, I'll report back. Okay, I actually ended up deciding against doing that, only because time constraints. I have classes that start really shortly, and those plugs don't bother me that much. Also, I don't know if it'll work for the AX15 either, so why not? If it works, someone comment below, great. But more easily done this, so I just cut it back using these suckers to lop it off. In fact, it's probably sitting next to me somewhere, whatever the case is. But lopped it off, and then stripped it back a little bit. I believe it was 14 gauge. No big deal. Probably a little bigger than my plug was designed for, but there's not much current going through these. Yeah, so I'm gonna go get the plugs connected and go from there. Okay, so got them cut off, terminals put on. Please focus. Let's just zoom in. Hope it likes me a little better. Okay, got them on. Heat thing was a little tricky just because my torch is a little too powerful, but did the trick. Just watch out for where you're going for. You don't want to hit this. That'd be a bad day. But yeah, that's ready to go. Now we make the intermediate wires. Okay, so what I just did, I took a single wire on the plug. Now this is 18 gauge. I believe it's 18. Yeah, it's 18 gauge wire. Probably pushing it, but again, such low current that I don't think it's really a big deal. Now I'll find out. I think I'm gonna wire a fuse. No, there's already a fuse wired to this, but I'll just watch it. It shouldn't have a problem, especially for the momentary use. Ideally, I should have gone for probably 16 gauge, something a little closer to this right here. But I think 18 will hold up just fine. It's just a really thin wall. Focus. Well, it's just thin wall, so there's actually more wire on it than it looks. But anyways, yeah, just wired this from here. What I did was I took my spool, this thing, and I sat down on the ground. Wait, no. No, sorry. Took my spool. I stood it right here, and I just grabbed wire and started feeding it down right here, where my finger is. You can even see it too. This is it. This is it right here. Took it and started feeding it down all the way there to really as far as I could go, which is about halfway down the block, and then went under the Jeep and grabbed it, pulled it to where I needed, and then got the lengths pretty approximate. And now I'm about to splice this on to the you don't have to focus. Splice this on to the plug side for the transmission, and then kind of run the wire a little tighter, and then cut it for the transmission side, the body harness side, and go from there. I'll report back. Okay, ended up finishing up the wiring for this. Spliced together the wires like shown. This right here was the 2 wires for the reverse lights. Not very elegant, but definitely well covered. And these were for neutral. Again, not very elegant, but I'm sure I'll fix this later. I have a class in like 10 minutes, so I gotta go. But yeah, so neutral, splice together. When it comes time, all I'll do is I'll take the tape off, unplug it, and then connect it to whatever I want. And then got reverse lights set up. And then what I did was I just took the whole harness, even merged the reverse lights in there, taped it all up, round everything off, and I'm probably just gonna tuck it right here. Maybe zip tie it to something, but there you go. Looks decently clean. Now let's go under the Jeep. Okay, so I ran the wires down here. Actually, I ended up holding them a little more over the transmission because I didn't want them to be too close to the exhaust. So I pulled them kind of taut. You see the wires right here. Where my index finger is poking right now. And right here, 1, 2, those 2. They kind of run out of the transmission. Now, I don't think heat will be a concern for them. But if it is, I did already order a loom to fit over it to protect them. And then 2 wires right here, not very elegant. I'm actually gonna I want to fix that one, that doesn't look good. I'm gonna put some heat shrink on them, but yeah, so that's the wiring. Just takes a little bit of time to get down. Also, got my front drive shaft in. That's drive shaft, love it. But yeah, so that concludes the wiring. The main question is, does it work? Okay, so notice right now, lights are not on. Now I do have, actually, not yet. Ignition is now on. Reverse. There we go. And we got reverse lights, just like that. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to help.